My name is Camilla, and I'm 28 years old. I used to live with my parents and my older sister Susan, but she moved out 2 years ago after getting married. I run an online business from home. My interest in app development began in middle school when my grandfather gifted me a computer on my birthday, which led to great success. However, my beloved grandfather passed away 3 years ago. He had lived with us and was my only confidant. After his death, I've become more reclusive. My parents work during the day, and I work alone in silence. They don't understand my work, seeing me only as a shut-in playing games. Susan has always looked down on me too. My motivation in computers was largely due to being neglected by my family. My parents always favored Susan, paying little attention to me. I grew up enduring this while my grandparents were the only ones who showed me love and spent most of their time with me. On my 14th birthday, my grandparents gifted me a computer, leading to my current career. I've never received a birthday gift from my parents. Now, with both of my grandparents gone, my room is the only place for me in this house. Still, I don't truly hate my parents who gave birth to me and raised me, so I try to help around the house as much as possible. One Sunday morning, my mother suddenly asked, "Camilla, is breakfast ready?" After opening my room's door past 9 a.m., yes, it's on the table, ready to be eaten. Since my grandfather's death, I've taken over the household chores. My parents think it's natural for me since I'm always playing games. I prepare all meals and handle cleaning, laundry, and shopping. Oh, did you see your dad? He had breakfast early and left, my mother said. Dad's gone out again, huh? Recently, Dad has been leaving the house early in the morning on weekends. While it's not that he and Mom don't get along, he generally can't say no to her. He probably heads out early to avoid the busy schedule Mom tends to plan for him on his days off. However, since I hardly remember having a conversation with Dad since my middle school days, this is all just speculation. Susan and her family will visit around noon today. Susan is coming? Don't be so surprised. She's your sister after all. It's been a while since you've seen each other, hasn't it? My mother added. It's definitely been a while. I think this is the first time she's come home since she got married, isn't it? Although my sister got married 2 years ago and has gone out to eat with Dad and Mom, she hasn't visited our home until now. When she was pregnant, she didn't come home, and our parents went to see her. Is there something important going on? I asked. I guess she wouldn't come without a good reason. Yeah, she mentioned she has something to talk about. She is coming home after such a long time, so make sure to prepare a nice lunch, my mother instructed. Right, I got it. Despite my eagerness to meet my nephew, I feel uneasy due to Susan's past coldness towards me. Realizing I hadn't received this month's grocery money yet, I asked, "Mom, can I get this month's food money? I'm about to go shopping." "Didn't you get it from your father?" "He told me to get it from you," my mother replied. "I don't have any money on me. Last month, I only received $50. I need the full amount this month."
No.
"Here's $30, she said, slamming the money on the table. "If you worked properly, this wouldn't happen. How long will you play around?" "I've told you, I am working." "I don't want to hear excuses. You're just playing games for pocket money. Don't talk about working when you can't live on your own." "That's not true," I responded, my voice shaking. "Enough. I've given you some money. Get the rest from your father." With that, she stormed out as she slammed the door. After letting out a deep sigh, I returned to my work. Once I reached a good stopping point, I headed out to do some shopping. With an uneasy feeling lingering, I rushed to finish my shopping by early afternoon, as I had heard that my sister would be arriving around that time. After I returned home, I started cooking immediately while my mother watched TV to relax. My father returned just before noon, and soon the doorbell rang on schedule. "Glad you could come, Susan. Come in quickly." My mother's cheerful voice was audible. "I'm back. It feels nostalgic returning to this house after so long," Susan said. "Welcome back, Susan. It's been a while." "Oh, Camilla, you're still here?" Seeing Susan for the first time in a long time, she was dressed in designer brands from head to toe with heavier makeup. Her triumphant smile directed at me hadn't changed at all. "I'm so tired," Susan exclaimed as she flopped down onto the sofa. As I looked for my nephew, I saw my mother holding him. His surprised and wide-eyed expression as he looked around was adorable. "What are you looking at?" "Hurry up and get lunch ready," my mother said coldly, noticing me looking at my nephew. "Mom, are you still making Camilla do all the housework?" Susan asked in a mockingly curious tone. "Of course. She just holes up in her room playing games all day, so she might as well be useful." "That's true. She costs money just by being here." My mother and Susan continued their conversation cheerfully. I tried to engage Susan in normal conversation by asking about her married life. "How's married life, Susan?" "It must be tough with childcare and housework." I carefully chose my words to speak to Susan. "I don't do any housework. I absolutely hate the idea of bustling about with household chores to do every day like you do." "What do you mean?" "We have a housekeeper, so I don't have to do anything." I remembered that Susan's husband is a doctor. When their marriage was decided, my mother and Susan were overjoyed about her marrying into money. "Wow, having a housekeeper must be nice." "Is your husband busy with work?" "Yes, he is. He's hardly at home, even on his days off because of emergency calls." Considering my relationship with Susan, this was a decent conversation. However, Susan seemed unsatisfied and stopped me as I went to finish preparing the meal. "You have such an easy life. Do you realize how much our parents struggle?" "What? You're still lying about working, aren't you? At your age, you should realize that because you're not independent, Mom has to work." "Well, I've told you and Mom many times, but I do work from home and earn enough. You don't need to worry." "If that's true, then move out and live on your own." "You say you're earning, but it's probably just pocket money, right?" "You say that because you've never really struggled like our mother." Susan didn't believe I was actually working and thought I was just living off my parents without the means to be independent. "I stay in this house because it belonged to Grandpa and Grandma. It's filled with precious memories for me." "I can't believe you're squatting here for that reason." "If it were me, I wouldn't want to stay in such an old house." "The house is old, but it has been renovated for accessibility for my grandfather. The kitchen and bathroom have been remodeled, and the appliances have also been gradually replaced with newer ones, so I don't feel inconvenienced." Although our grandparents loved Susan just as much, she probably felt bothered by their remarks and attitudes, hence she has no attachment to this house. "I think the best thing for someone like me was to marry into wealth, but that's impossible for you." My mother snickered at Susan's words. "You can't get married, you can't show your parents our grandchild's face, and you don't even try to live on your own. You're really useless." "I don't think marriage is everything. I live on the money I earn myself, and I'm fine with that." "Stop saying that, and quit lying already. Dad, Mom, and I are all tired of your lies." Just then, my nephew started crying, and my mother glared at me. I fled her gaze and went back to the kitchen to silently continue preparing lunch. Frustrated, I concluded that explaining anything further to Susan and our mother would be futile. Despite her criticisms, Susan ate everything I had prepared. I had heard that Susan had something important to discuss that day, but she left in the evening without mentioning anything. However, I noticed something concerning about Susan's behavior. She was checking various parts of the house, like the upstairs rooms, the bathroom, and the kitchen we had been gradually remodeling. Her detailed inspections felt ominous, but she left without any issues that day, and I wondered when we would meet next. The next morning, while I was preparing breakfast, my mother suddenly spoke up. "Make sure the house is tidy by next Sunday, and prepare dinner well. Susan, Jacob, and the kids are coming next week. They just came yesterday." "What are they coming for, and why is her husband coming too?" I bombarded my mother with questions in surprise. "It's nothing to be so surprised about. Their family," Susan said. "They have something important to discuss. There's something for you too, so keep your schedule free." "I'm just happy I'll see the kids again." What could it possibly be about? I was filled with anxiety. Susan hadn't shown her face since getting married, and now, suddenly, she decided to come again next week after visiting recently, this time with her husband. It all felt very strange. I pondered Susan's intentions but couldn't come up with anything. However, unbeknownst to me, Susan and our mother were having discussions. "Can you believe the house is in Camilla's name?" What was Dad thinking?
Don't worry, Mom.
If we tell Camilla everyone's burdened by her, she'll leave. The right to live in this house belongs to us. I was so caught up in work that before I knew it, it was already Sunday. The first time I met Susan's husband, Jacob, was when he came to our house to formally introduce himself for their wedding. He had decided to become a doctor, influenced by his father. Although he was handsome, I remember feeling a chill in his demeanor. My mother, thrilled to hear he was the son of a doctor, welcomed him with great joy. However, since then, until today, Jacob has not visited our home, and neither my parents nor I have seen him since the wedding. In such a situation, I welcomed Susan, my nephew, and Jacob after setting the dinner on the table. When I took another look at Jacob, he seemed to have lost a little weight compared to 2 years ago. As I returned to the kitchen, Susan followed. Did you pick up these side dishes from some supermarket? I wonder if they will suit our tastes since we always eat high-quality food. This is a dish I made myself, taught by Grandma, so I can assure you of its quality. Unable to respond, Susan looked displeased for a moment, but then quickly put on a caring wife's face and began serving the dishes. During dinner, Susan mostly bragged about how her child was superior to others. Throughout dinner, Jacob barely spoke, seeming distant even as he listened to Susan's stories. Seeing our adorable child, don't you wish you had another grandchild? Susan shot a malicious glance at me, seemingly ready to use me as a target again. Indeed, we could have had another grandchild by now, but that's impossible since Camilla's not even married. Before even thinking of children, finding a marriage partner is essential, isn't it? And with you always in your room playing games, how could you possibly meet anyone? And to top it off, you're unemployed and still living at home. After enduring such harsh insults, I had finished my meal and was about to leave the table, when my mother spoke to me in a voice filled with anger, planning to leave the table by yourself. We're not done here. There's an important discussion coming up, so sit down and listen. Let's get to the point. Camilla, can you please leave this house? My sister's abrupt request left me speechless. Just try living on your own for once. Both Dad and Mom are at their limit living with you. If things continue this way, you won't change. It almost sounded like she was saying it was for my own good that I should move out and live on my own, as if she was reluctantly advising me. You really should realize how much of a disappointment you are. Learning to earn enough to live on your own and understanding the harshness of society would do you some good. Wait, Mom. How many times do I have to say I'm working and earning my own money? When will you understand? My hands trembled with anger as I spoke, frustrated that they never listened. Just because you make a little money from your hobbies doesn't mean you're earning a living. No, I earn enough every month to pay for my own expenses. Plus, I paid for all the renovations in this house. I funded the renovations after our grandfather's death with the money I had saved from my job. My parents were aware of this because they hadn't made any of the payments. You think you're something, don't you? That money was Grandpa's, wasn't it? What did you think? I didn't know you received money from Grandpa, but before he passed away, Grandfather had indeed given me a bank book shortly before he died, which was the result of my grandparents saving up, worried about my future due to the neglect from my parents. They must have thought it would come in handy someday. What do you mean?
How do you know about that?
I had immediately stored the bank book in a drawer in my room and hadn't told a soul about it. It's obvious because I saw it in your drawer. I found it right away. But where did you hide the cash card? I couldn't withdraw the money. How could you do something like that? That's despicable. I was stunned and deeply shocked. Those two were always nicer to you, but to think they left money behind for you, sidelining us.
How dare they?
Don't trample on Grandpa and Grandma's feelings. They left that money as they were thinking of my well-being. Feeling belittled by their disregard for my grandparents' intentions, my anger intensified. And then I finally understood why my parents had never mentioned the renovation payments. They must have known about the bank book and had intended for me to handle the costs from the start. They assumed that I had covered the renovation costs with the money from the bank account I received. Let's forget about the money for now. Thanks to it, the old house has decent amenities and the appliances are fairly new. It's infuriating that only you received it, but well, I'll forgive you. Grandpa and Grandma probably foresaw that you'd struggle to be independent and jobless. The inside of the house is clean and the appliances are quite nice, was Susan's sudden inspection of the house meant to check on these improvements. As your sister, I'm really worried about you. You understand that, right? I just glared at her silently. Ignoring my look, she smirked and began to reveal her true intentions. Actually, he's about to build a new hospital, she said proudly, looking at Jacob, whose expression remained stern.
What?
Actually, we're thinking of moving in here as well. Why would that be? We've decided to build a new hospital around this area. There's spare land and not many hospitals around, right? So we plan to use this house as a base to commute to the hospital. That's why we need you to move out. But you can't just spring this on me all of a sudden. I know this house is in your name, but you should leave for Mom and Dad's sake. Just give the house to me. Why do you get to decide that all on your own? Of course, both Dad and Mom agree with me. They truly want you out as well. I remembered that Grandpa had transferred the house into my name before he passed away. At the time, I didn't understand his true intentions, but now it seemed clear. The real head of this house is Dad. Titles don't matter, so just leave quietly. No, this house is filled with memories of Grandma and Grandpa. Stop being so childish. You're just a parasite living here, bothering everyone. It's time for you to leave, Susan shouted as if delivering a final blow. Camilla, don't you think you're a bad influence on your nephew? I turned my eyes toward my mother as she said this. You think your nephew is cute, right? Do you really want him to see you living like a parasite, dependent on your parents for his education? You should leave. During this, my father kept his gaze down, fiddling with his phone. Jacob remained silent, but his attentive listening suggested he agreed. At that moment, I thought to myself, let them think what they will. Nothing I say would matter to them. I wanted to escape from this toxic environment as soon as possible. Fine, do whatever you like, I said and stormed up to my room. I was furious about everything but decided to think calmly about what to do next. That night, I made a decision. The next morning, I went downstairs to find Susan's family gone. My parents seemed to be asleep, and the leftover mess from the previous night remained untouched. I took my laptop and headed to a nearby cafe. Soon, my phone was bombarded with calls and emails from my mother, demanding to know where I was and to come back and make their breakfast, but I ignored them all and proceeded with my plan. Using my laptop, I first searched for moving companies and contacted one as soon as their office opened. Thankfully, since it was off-peak season, they could come on the same day. I timed my return to the house when I knew my parents would be at work. The house was a mess after just a few hours without me, and I sighed deeply in frustration. Shortly after, the movers arrived with a large truck. What items are we taking? Everything in the house. The movers efficiently packed up everything I had purchased, from large appliances like the washing machine, vacuum cleaner, fridge, and microwave to smaller items like dishes. It was lively when I had all the latest electronic appliances, but after everything was moved out, the house felt empty and somewhat sad. Legally, this was still my house, but I no longer wanted to be there. However, I vowed not to waste my grandparents' intentions. As I left the house filled with my grandparents' memories, I felt oddly liberated. That evening, my phone rang. It was my mother. What the hell is going on? All the appliances are gone. Did you take them? Of course I did. You wanted me out, so I'm leaving. But naturally, I'm taking what I bought. I'm glad you're leaving, but taking the appliances is not right. Why not? They're mine. I bought them. You bought them with Grandpa's money. No. How many times do I have to tell you? The money from Grandpa is very important to me. I wouldn't touch it. I bought everything with my own money. I sent her a photo of my bank book showing today's date to prove it. I had just withdrawn $100, so the balance should make it clear. You're horrible to do this to your own parents.
Fine.
We don't need your appliances. We'll ask Susan and her family to help. I don't care, but you guys need to leave quickly. That house is in my name.
What?
Don't be ridiculous. That was the last I heard from my mother. Inwardly, I hoped Jacob could successfully buy the house, not just the appliances. A few days later, Susan contacted me sooner than expected. Camilla, I hope you've calmed down by now. Can we talk just one more time, please? Her tone was different, as if she was treading carefully. What do you want? I'm busy with work. Make it quick. I've been thinking since then. It was our mistake to try to kick you out. We're family. Shouldn't we live together? After calling me a parasite, now you suddenly talk about family? Absolutely not. You guys have moved in already, haven't you? We moved in yesterday, but there have been some complications. Oh, about Jacob? He got fired from the hospital, right? I know, though it's amazing you kept quiet about it. How do you know that? I'm not as clueless as you think. A friend of mine works in admin at the hospital Jacob was at. She told me he was fired for having an affair. It turns out that Jacob had an affair with a nurse and got her pregnant. He tried to convince the woman not to have the child in an attempt to keep the affair hidden, but the enraged woman exposed the truth throughout the hospital. Fearing the hospital's reputation would suffer, Jacob's father decided to fire him. Jacob couldn't tell Susan the truth and fabricated a story about building a new hospital to secure a place to live. Actually, I just found out about it recently and was shocked. Now, he has no money and is being sued for compensation by the woman's husband. Plus, Dad has left home. What happened to Dad? According to Susan, it seems that my father also had an affair and left a note and divorce papers before moving out. Just before Susan and her family were to move in, apparently, he had written complaints about my mother in the note, and after reading it, my mother became bedridden. You can't just leave us in such a sorry state, right, Camilla? You'll help us, won't you? You still have the money Grandpa gave you, right? What are you saying now? Mom showed me the photo of the bank book. I believe you're working now, after all this time of not believing I could support myself with my earnings. It's ironic. They turn to me only when it suits them. Don't just rely on me when it's convenient. I'm not coming back. I've tolerated everything because the house was filled with memories of Grandma and Grandpa, but I've realized that those memories will always be in my heart. Wait, please. I have no good memories with Dad, Mom, or you. So, asking for my help now only troubles me. Oh, and make sure you move out soon. That house is in my name. Yes. I had been enduring all along. Saying all this out loud made my heart feel lighter, and I was convinced that I could now find happiness. Please, Camilla, you're going to abandon your family like this? After that, I didn't respond to any calls or messages from my mother or Susan for the first 3 months. They contacted me persistently, but they seem to have given up now, and my days are peaceful. I heard that the couple opened a hospital with borrowed money, but it attracts no patients, likely because Jacob's affair partner has spread bad rumors. My mother developed depression from the shock of my father leaving and is currently hospitalized. When I decided to move out of that house, I also resolved to sell it, and I went through with it. Seeing the notice of sale, Susan and her family had no choice but to move to a nearby apartment, burdened with debt and with no patience. There's not much they can do. It's none of my concern anymore. However, I do hope my nephew finds happiness, as he is innocent in all this. As for me, my work is going well, and I'm expanding my business. Grateful to my grandparents, I hope to one day find a home where I truly belong. I am determined to keep living my life to the fullest.